What is the most ignorant thing someone has said to you? I went through treatment for cancer. The number of people who think it is helpful to point out that Big Pharma has the cure for cancer but is hiding it is mind-boggling. Oh, and also to make sure I'm aware that the chemotherapy I'm having is super bad for you? No crap. And have I considered alternatives like eating organic and vitamin infusions? You know, natural things instead of those nasty chemicals? I'm a waiter. I had a woman ask me if we had gluten-free water. You can tell that the dinosaurs they use in films aren't real ones. Returning to school after my house had burned down during the summer, arguably the worst summer of my life. I was minding my own business in class and some guy blurted out, "Did you all burn your house down just for insurance money?" No, we didn't burn our entire lives in 4 walls for some measly cash. It upset me so bad knowing people could even think like that. Doesn't ignorant mean black? Happened years ago in high school. Some girl said it when she kept calling friends and me ignorant and someone asked her if she knew what it meant. One of those moments was when the classroom went quiet and everyone heard her ask. It was very awkwardly funny. My daughter is struggling in math because girls aren't good at math. This was said to me by the father of one of my students. I'm a female math teacher. Age 42. Edit. Not my daughter, a student of mine. I teach high school algebra 2 and geometry. I have a math degree. I actually work with teens and see how our brains don't know race or sex. It's mostly confidence in our ability. Like the placebo effect. If you believe something, you will make it true. That's not snow on top of the mountain. Of course it is. What else could it be? White plastic sheeting? After my sister had passed away, someone I knew said, "At least she died doing what she loved." She died of a heroin overdose. One of my best friends told me he doesn't believe in science. Men with no kids shouldn't be allowed at swimming pools. A lady said that to me while I was working at a swimming pool. When I was in high school Spanish class, I was talking to the person beside me about how my mother is from Mexico. Upon hearing this, the girl in front of us turned around in her seat and remarked, "Wow, your mother is from Mexico? Do you think she can come over to my house sometime and clean it? My family has been looking for a new maid." From what I understand, she came from a very privileged life, so I can only assume her parents taught her to think that way. This has happened on several occasions. I begin talking to someone, and as soon as they find out I have Asperger's, they start treating me like I'm a child. I'm 17. It kills me on the inside whenever someone belittles me like that. If you're on the higher functioning end of the spectrum, don't tell anyone. That kind of treatment can seriously warp the way that you view yourself. It's a terrible thing. Astronomer here might have shared this before, but I have a relative who believes in conspiracy theories from how we didn't go to the moon to the Holocaust is fake. He's also an engineer who's been successful at his job, so not an uneducated person. Anyway, he was asking me a ton of questions once about various conspiracies. Relativity isn't true, for example. And then, when discussing aliens, he said, "But surely you can at least tell me we regularly talk to aliens via radio." When I said no and explained my research and how this doesn't happen, I specialize in radio astronomy, he then just said in a sad voice, "Oh, so they've gotten to you too." Because my grad student stipend is totally enough to buy my silence over eternal fame and fortune for discovering an alien signal. I mean, I've had a lot of stupid stuff said to me about astro topics, from astrology to fairies to stuff in between. Most of these cases, though, strike me as uneducated people ignorant because they never had a chance to know how rational thinking works. I feel like this was truly ignorant, though, because I know how well educated this guy is, yet still prefers ignorance. Once, a guy told me that slavery wasn't the worst part of US history, but rather the invention of electricity. You can't be French if you're black. Surely you're from Africa. Where are your parents from? France? Grandparents? I don't know much about them, but I assume France. Speak French. Petit quand tu vis sur une pierre. Okay, Africa. You realize there are black people everywhere other than America and Africa, right? LOL, get out of here. There are black people everywhere. Portugal, Spain, Netherlands, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Germany, Switzerland, Morocco, and the list goes on. The only countries I don't know any black people are from are China, Japan, Korea, and a lot of other Asian countries, and I'm still sure as hell they exist. I see this comment is getting traction, so I want to add one thing. I never had this problem when I went to a dominantly white private school with very few minorities. I always said I was French and never had anyone disapprove or tell me otherwise. As soon as I went to a public high school filled with minorities and very few whites, this is when it started. I have a couple of theories as to why, mostly that these students come from economically poorer backgrounds and therefore don't travel much. It's not rare to see someone who's never left the US compared to my old school where traveling to the beach house in the Hamptons during the weekend was routine. Anyone have other theories? Many years ago, I waited tables in a restaurant that was inside a posh department store. Once a week or so, a woman would wheel in her wheelchair-bound sister who appeared to have cerebral palsy or some similar illness. They both seemed to be very nice people, always tipped well, and frankly, it seemed that they both needed this time together to get out of the house. One of the waitresses I worked with complained, to no one in particular, they shouldn't let people like that, referring to wheelchair-bound women, into public places. No one wants to look at that. What an ass. It's not as if the waitress was anything great to look at either. That's what made this comment particularly ignorant. My brother was missing for about 4 months and was found dead. So a funeral was held and my cousin came up to me and said, "I don't understand why everybody's crying so much. They should have made peace with it because he was gone for so long already." I was just shocked by it and didn't respond to him. All Latin Americans are Mexicans, and apparently we all speak Mexican, a language that came from Spanish. A woman I used to work with would constantly bitch about her period and describe all the things that she was going through. This got tiresome after a while because, as a woman, it's nothing new to me. In one attempt to shut her down, I made the mistake of telling her that I have PCOS, which is a hormone disorder that causes irregular cycles, infertility, weight gain, hair loss, hirsutism, and a crap ton of other lousy stuff. Because of the syndrome, I can't relate to women who go through a week of hell every month. I just have no experience with what she was describing. She told me, "Oh, you're so lucky. I wish I had what you have." She continued to berate me about how lucky I am to have cysts in my ovaries every month for the next year until she quit. "So, you're from Asia. Do you speak Asian?" I told this story to a girl once. She laughed and then replied, "So do you?" I was discussing space with my grandma, and I was curious because she seemed very ignorant on the subject even though she said she watched a lot of documentaries about it. So I asked her, "Do you know where Earth is in space?" Her answer, "It's sitting on the ground." Of course I asked her to clarify and all, and yeah, she believed that the Earth, our little blue ball, was sitting on the ground in space. I had to explain gravity and how planets were orbiting the sun afterward. It was pretty fun. You grew up in foster care? Oh, was it because you were a bad kid? How rude to ask that. You don't go into foster care for being a bad kid, it's because your parents beat the crap out of you every day. I get so angry it comes from many people. My aunt has asked me, my childhood friend's parents, and when I was hospitalized, my charge nurse asked me. Minimum wage is going up because they want small businesses to fail and have everything run by corporations. I've been making minimum wage for 6 years and managed to buy a car, rent an apartment, move to a house, and ran a business. It's all about managing your money. No, Brandy, you've been getting government assistance the entire time. You're on Medicaid. You used to get food stamps. You had WIC and your boyfriend brings home over $500 a week from tips that I know you don't get claimed on your taxes. So no, it's not all about managing money correctly. Also, the only reason you have a house is because your aunt is selling it to you. The only reason you have a business is because our boss is selling it to you at a cost. The government isn't out to get you. Maybe if you raised your prices a little instead of complaining about how little you make on everything, you would turn a profit and it wouldn't be so hard to pay people a living wage and your employee turnaround wouldn't be so high. But don't listen to me. I didn't go to college or take an economic class or even write a semester-long research paper on the minimum wage/living wage issue. My dog got diabetes early in life and developed cataracts, which quickly turned into glaucoma. His eyes were so swollen that they caused excruciating migraines. We were going to put him down, but his vet made a really good case for his odds if we did a bilateral enucleation, eye removal, so we decided to follow through with it. I called my mom from school to find out how he'd fared during the surgery. My friend at the time asked me what I was calling my mom for, and I explained the situation, and she got this look on her face and asked, "In all seriousness, ew. Why don't you just get rid of it?" I don't have that friend anymore. I still do have the most special dog I've ever met, who got an extra 8 years on this planet with us and a vastly improved quality of life. I'm originally from the West Coast. A few years back, I spent some time in a hick county in the Midwest, and someone once told me, "You're pretty cool for a black guy." I'm Filipino. When I asked a climate change denying Facebook acquaintance why he doesn't believe the majority of climate scientists who say climate change is real, he responded, "Why should I believe in climate change just because it's popular among scientists? Since when did science become a popularity contest?" Then I tried to explain the concepts of scientific consensus and peer review and how literally every scientific discipline relies on them. But of course, he didn't want to hear it. As they say, you can't reason someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into in the first place. Edit. I left out some important context. My bad. He is perfectly fine with the scientific consensus on other issues like vaccines and GMOs. He says he believes the scientists who say vaccines and GMOs are safe because those scientists aren't bought and paid for the way climate scientists are. My friend once told me, "I want to start my own business so I don't have to work as much." When I was in 7th grade, my uncle had been diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor and was homebound. His mother had broken her hip and was also homebound. Our youth group at church was doing a work day one Saturday to help members of the church who were homebound and couldn't do things on their own. This one girl has the nerve to ask me, "Why is your family so special that we're doing 2 projects for them? It's not like they have cancer or anything." You work in retail? You must be unintelligent. Source: currently work in retail while studying computer science full-time. Often treated like I need to wear 3 helmets at work. That the reason they weren't fond of Asians was because of their physical traits being so dominant. Humans would eventually lose their variety and just look the same. Man, it was a fun year with them. I was arguing with a girl who didn't believe in evolution. She said humans didn't evolve because there are still monkeys around and that mutations only occur when nuclear bombs go off. She wanted to be a veterinarian, so good luck passing those biology courses. This is 100% real, and I quote, "Racism didn't exist until Obama became president. My mom is white and my dad is black, so my skin tone is light brownish. I was born and raised in a small US town. One day when I was like 12, some random person drove by and yelled, 'Go back to Africa!' I've never been there, jerk." Talking about civilian casualties in the Middle East. They are knowingly living in a war zone. If they don't want to get killed, they should just leave. Otherwise, they're SOL. A lot of the ones with the means have left. Many have died trying. What I think is the more ignorant statement is people who say the people trying to leave the war zone should stay and fight. They claim they would rather die than run. It's an easy claim to make from the comfort of your computer chair. After my SO nearly died in a car accident that was not his fault and sustained a traumatic brain injury from it, why are you still with him? I can take care of you better than him now. From every other mutual friend of ours. We cut those jerks out of our lives. In college, someone thought South Park coined the term hindsight, and people only used it to be trendy. But what's your real name? Them. Humans invented color. When humans find places, they add color to them. Before the humans got there, those places were black and white. Me. So are you saying that any places on Earth that humans haven't discovered yet are black and white? Them. Yes. Finland is not a real country. Had a client tell me that millennials are too obsessed with money and that there is more to life than having money. I said we are obsessed with it because we are broke and have none. Went right over his head. Solar panels are dumb. If we really want to have solar energy, we just need to get a wire long enough to plug into the sun. Actually, a copper wire would work best. Why do they sell so many tampons in a box? Girls only need 1 a month. Don't be wasteful. From the same person. A coworker asked me what country is Kansas in. He's American, and this was in America. You can't be autistic. My 3-year-old cousin is autistic and he's nothing like you. You can't be autistic, you're a girl. Yes, I can, just watch me. Look at me go, autisting all over the place. It's almost like I am older than your 3-year-old cousin and have had more time to adapt to my disability. Like geez, even the autistic adults I know who can talk/hold a job/etc. don't act like your 3-year-old cousin because they aren't 3-year-olds. Had a choir teacher call Swahili an African American language. Are there capital numbers? Asked in complete honesty by my ex. Bless her wretched heart. A kid in my high school economics class acclaimed, "This is ridiculous. There aren't even 1 million people in the world." I pour out the melted ice from my bottle so that I can fill it with water. Argued for 10 minutes because she wouldn't believe that water and ice were made of the same thing. I had a roommate who once told me she didn't believe in black holes. She thought they were like faith in God. Some people choose to believe in them and some people don't. I don't believe in them. She was in medical school at a prestigious university at the time and is now completing her residency. Albert Einstein did not believe in black holes either. Sure, now we have a lot more evidence than when he was around, but it's not like we ever had a visual of an event horizon either. I had my dog of 14 years pass away. A girl said to me, "Why are you so upset? It's not like it was a person." I don't believe or trust scientific research from the last 50 years, followed closely by I don't believe in or trust statistics. I wish I was kidding, but both were from the same person in the same conversation about climate change. "You're so pretty for a black girl. You talk so white. That's weird, I've never seen you wear weave." I was depressed for several years. My boyfriend at the time kept saying to me, "Have you tried not being depressed?" Needless to say, he's no longer my boyfriend. My neighbor said she was going to Aruba for a vacation. I asked her where Aruba was located. She said, "Who knows? We're flying." My class was taught about cyberbullying and viruses, and the new medium of the internet. We are 15 at youngest. This was 2 weeks ago. That stupid Al Gore guy invented global warming, and now I've got to spend 2 additional minutes praying for the planet too. I mean, like, I don't really mind if white and black people have kids together, but it makes me mad when they do, because their kids might come out all patchy, like patches of white and black skin like a cow. It's really sad that they would do that to a child. My aunt in her 40s, who totally isn't racist because she slept with a black guy once. Yes, we did explain that this is a skin condition and not because they have parents from different races. In the hardware store, an employee explained to me how to repair something. "Do you have a husband who can help you?" While I was with my boyfriend at one of his friends' home, I pulled out a book of piano sheet music and was messing around, with permission, playing a few things from it, all pieces I'd never played before. Another guest across the room said to me, "How come you're so bad at this? I thought you were a piano teacher. Aren't you supposed to be able to play any song just by looking?" 22-year-old me was stupidly shy and totally insecure in the room full of people I'd never met before. I didn't play piano in front of people again for years. Girl in my 11th grade history class didn't know where China was. The teacher asked, and the poor girl pointed at 6 other countries before she found China. This was an AP class. "If you shut up about being depressed and wanting help, you'll be happier. Thanks, Mom." In my lifetime, I've been in several arguments against people claiming that Catholicism is not Christianity, even coming from practicing Catholics. I've been told that Catholics aren't Christians because they worship saints. I had to explain that the practice isn't worship, but a form of veneration for the saints. I'm agnostic, so I don't exactly have a bone to pick, but it's just really irritating that so many people don't understand what Catholicism and Protestantism are, and how they both are just divergent strains of Christianity. I'm a Sikh, and when people call me Muslim or Hindu, just shows the ignorance of most people. "You're such a loser. You have no friends. I have twice as many friends as you. 0 times 2 is still 0. As an African American, I once had someone ask me at what age I would start speaking slang and Ebonics, as if it was some transition that happened during puberty. Order a drink, and the server hands back my New Mexico driver's license. We only accept American IDs here. This will probably be buried, but so I'm Jewish, and in high school, the day before Thanksgiving break, a girl looks at me and says, "So what do you do during Thanksgiving break?" Confused, I looked at her and said, "Have Thanksgiving dinner with my family?" And now she's confused and says to me, "Jews celebrate Thanksgiving?" Her mind is going to explode when she finds out that Jews celebrate New Year's Eve as well. "You don't look like a native Indian. You just don't want to pay taxes and go to school for free. My student loans, property, and income tax beg to differ. Your job is a lot easier compared to mine. I'm never one to be fond of assumptions, especially when someone makes an assumption about my life and how I live it. I don't like judging people and their lives because I don't live with them, and I don't know what they go through or how they really feel. The above example is just one out of a crap ton of other ignorant sentences someone has ever said to me. It's like making fun of a disabled kid who has difficulty learning how to count. You may think it's easy for you, but it's not quite for them. That sort of thing." Them. I don't know why people say there's a difference between cross-dressing and being transgender. I don't think there's any difference at all. Me. I didn't realize people went transgender just for the night of their stag party. Some guy once said to me he doesn't understand why a guy would choose to be gay. I facepalmed. Black people have made no contribution to music besides hip-hop. Believe me, that kid got schooled that day. I've had depression for most of my life. A friend once told me to just think happy thoughts. Here's another one. Lady: wow, your English is so good. Where are you from? Me: California. Lady: no, like where are your parents from? Me: oh, they're from Southern California. Lady: no, like your people. Me: ... Them: where are you from? Me: I'm German. Them: what religion are you? Me: oh, I'm Jewish. Them: but Hitler, how is that possible? Let's give him a chance. He's a businessman. There are no poor white people. While I can understand why these people, yes, I heard this from multiple people, think this way, I can't say it didn't annoy the heck out of me. I was living in Africa and the local people often thought this. Now, I believe they were able to say this and argue the point with me because the only white people these guys ever saw were rich tourists and people who worked in their country that made a decent wage. Also, considering that their local currency wasn't worth much compared to Western money. So any money any white person brought with them could pay a heck of a lot more than any money a local person earned. Worked with an insane Mormon lady who wouldn't let her kids sleep over at my friend's house or let any of their friends sleep over. Says she barely even lets them have friends over just to visit. I told her they need to make friends and develop socially and experience the world. She shields them from everything. She said, I'm their best friend. They don't need friends and I don't want them to make any. They can't play in the front or back, privacy fenced yard, without her dedicated supervision. The kids were, I think, 6, 8, and 11 years old. She also takes them trick-or-treating and then takes all of their candy and brings it to work for her coworkers. So glad she's out of my life. Infuriating lady to talk to. But damn, I want to see the crap show that is her kids rebelling from being so ridiculously repressed. Some kid once made fun of my brother on the school bus by saying his shirt looks like someone had gotten their period all over it. My brother's shirt was blue. This kid had seen the commercials where people pour blue liquid into a pad and thought women's periods were blue. That there is zero scientific evidence that smoking cigarettes while pregnant harms the baby at all. My coworker, who is pregnant with baby number 3, told me this less than a month ago. I was in science class in high school, and the girl behind me thought the moon was closer to the United States than Australia because we could see the moon at night. Americans traveling in Italy. My friend remarks to me how much smarter the little Italian children were compared to American children. Me: why do you say that? Her: they're so small and already speak fluent Italian. I cringed so hard. I was having a conversation with my mother-in-law years ago when I started dating my fiancé. I have no idea how it came up, but she said, if I knew that someone had AIDS, I would never let them in my house. What if they had to use the bathroom? There's no way I'm going to get AIDS from my own toilet seat. I don't think I was even able to respond. Growing up in America as a white woman, I always just figured I was a Christian. An aunt of mine fervently believed that using a PC while sick gets you a computer virus. Her explanation: the germs are on your hands and get onto the keyboard. Is Canada a state? From a 16-year-old. Anarchists are the people who burn houses down, right? She was referring to arsonists. A person can't be both an intellectual and an atheist. A coworker feels atheism is stupid. It was news to him that some of the most brilliant minds in history don't believe in a higher power. Upon meeting a friend's parents for the first time, and them finding out I'm half Hispanic, wow, you won the genetic lottery. You don't look Mexican at all. Good for you. If global warming is a thing, then why do we still have winter? Why don't poor people just move? Friend: are you doing Sudoku? Me: yes. Friend: in what language? Your daughter is beautiful. Where is she adopted from? I'm white. She is half white and half black. Dude: it's great to see a large Japanese man. Me: actually, I'm half Korean, but all American. Dude: Koreans and Japanese are the same exact people. I've lived in both places. Don't you know that? I voted for Donald Trump because America is a business now and needs to be run like one. You shouldn't be able to pick what we do in class. You are the majority. This is a democracy. Why do we need vaccines? When was the last time you ever heard of someone getting smallpox? Maybe not the most ignorant, but I got this one just a few days ago. Them: oh, I got rid of all the sodium in my house ages ago. We only use the Himalayan pink salt now. Me: you know that is still sodium, right? Like it's still salt? Them: No, they remove all the beneficial nutrients when they process the salt and replace it with sodium. This doesn't have any of that, and it's totally good for you. I have a twin brother. When we were younger, another kid came up to us and asked, "So when you wake up, how do you know you're not him?" I asked him, "How do you know you aren't?" and points to a random person, and he was even more confused. Sorry, we're out of Coke. Is Pepsi okay? I'm a liberal living in a liberal city, but grew up in a small rural town where the vast majority of people vote Republican every election. This past election has resulted in an almost constant stream of people saying to my face, even knowing where I'm from, that people from small towns shouldn't be allowed to vote, because they're racist and stupid and don't know enough anything about anything. I know most of Reddit shares this view, but it is definitely not true, and to hear so many people who have no first-hand experience or knowledge of how people from these places are or how life is both extremely disheartening, and I seldom find many things offensive. Fairly offensive. Most of all, it's far beyond concerning that so many people are in favor of completely disenfranchising huge swaths of the population because they think all those people are stupid, uneducated racists who hate everyone who isn't them. It's extremely bigoted. Thanks for watching until the end. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when our next video is available. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.